All right, let's talk about a name that, for anyone who loves football, is just synonymous with pure genius, elegance, and, yeah, a little bit of heartbreak. Marco van Basten. And that really gets us to the core of his whole story, the big puzzle we're going to try and solve today. How on earth can a player who had to retire at 28, an age when most guys are just hitting their stride, be considered one of the absolute all-time greats? Well, let's get into it. So, our story kicks off where so many incredible Dutch careers do, at the legendary club Ajax. This is where the world first caught a glimpse of a striker who was, well, completely different from anyone they'd ever seen. Okay, just look at these numbers from his time at Ajax. They're absolutely wild. In 133 league games, he scored 128 goals. That's basically a goal every single time he stepped onto the pitch. We're not talking about a promising kid here. This was a straight-up phenomenon. And if you need just one stat to kind of wrap your head around his dominance back then, here it is, 37. That's how many league goals he banged in during a single season. The number really says it all. This was a goal-scoring machine, plain and simple. Now when you're that good, you're not going to stay put for long. The biggest stage was calling, and his next chapter took him to the absolute top of the footballing world, where he would lead both his new club, AC Milan, and his country to incredible glory. You know, every true legend has that moment, right? The one snapshot in time that perfectly sums up their genius. For Van Basten, that moment arrived in 1988, with a goal that people still talk about in disbelief. And this was it, the 1988 European Championship final, the biggest stage for his country. And what does he do? He unleashes this unbelievable volley from an angle that it defies physics. It was audacious, it was brilliant, and it won the championship for the Netherlands. Oh, and by the way, he was also the tournament's top scorer. And that success carried right over to his club career. He became the spearhead for one of the greatest teams in football history, that legendary AC Milan side. With them, he won the European Cup, the biggest prize in club football, twice, and completely dominated the Italian league, which back then was the toughest in the world. And it wasn't just fans who thought he was the best, it was official. The Ballon d'Or is the award for the best player on the planet. And as you can see, he won it 3 times in 5 years. This wasn't just a great player in a great team. For a solid chunk of time, he was the best, period. But right at the very top of that mountain, when it looked like his reign was going to last for years and years, the story takes a sudden, really tragic turn. All that brilliance was about to be cut short. The villain in the story? His ankles. It wasn't one single dramatic injury. It was this constant, grinding, persistent battle. He'd have surgery, you'd get your hopes up, but the problems just kept coming back. It was a fight his body just couldn't win. And it all comes down to this one single, shocking number, 28. That's how old he was when he played his last ever professional match. Just let that sink in for a second. A 3-time World Player of the Year, forced to walk away from the game in what should have been his absolute prime. So why are we still talking about him with such awe all these years later? This is where the story gets really interesting. Because in a strange way, having his career cut short didn't diminish his legend. If anything, it made it even stronger. His legacy really stands on 3 pillars. First, just the sheer beauty of how he played. He had the grace of a dancer and the killer instinct of an assassin. Second, he basically created the blueprint for the modern striker, tall, skillful, and lethal. And finally, because of all that, he became this incredible inspiration for so many players who came after him. And that amazing football mind didn't just disappear when he stopped playing. He poured all that knowledge back into the game, first as a coach, and then later taking on a huge role with FIFA, actually helping to shape the rules in the future of the sport he once owned. Which brings us right back to that question from the start. What's more powerful in the end? A long, steady career with tons of stats, or a brilliant, blinding flash of genius that's gone too soon, leaving everyone forever wondering what if? In the case of Marco van Basten, the legend itself is the answer.